So this all happened about a year ago. For context, my girlfriend Rachel was 24 at the time. I was 26, and we'd been together for about 3 years. The question of marriage started popping up, especially with our friends getting engaged, married, and having children. Rachel was the love of my life. I would have done anything for her. So when she started dropping hints, I decided to move forward, trying to figure out what type of engagement ring she'd want. After work one day, we headed to a jewelry store and found the perfect ring. I was planning on coming back in a month or two to purchase it. I just needed to save up some money. It wasn't overly expensive, but would have nearly wiped out my savings. A few days later, over the weekend, one of my friends, who we'll call Dex, invited us over to watch UFC. For context, Dex is roughly 18 years older than me, but has been a family friend for a long time. I thought he was the coolest guy in the world when I was a kid, so he was definitely someone I looked up to. Now that I was an adult, being friends with him was a childhood dream. Normally, my weekends were free, so I could do whatever I wanted, but on that very weekend, I had a side job. My client needed me on Sunday morning to get some footage of a property, but the property was in a different city. I decided to head up on Saturday night so I didn't have to be on the road at 5 in the morning on Sunday. I told Dex that I couldn't make it, but my girlfriend could.
That sounds like a bad idea.
Since they were friends too, I had no reason not to trust them together. I couldn't imagine either of them ever doing something to hurt me. Rachel went to his house to watch the fight, and at around 11 p.m. I went to bed. Before I fell asleep, I texted her, saying that I love her and that I'll see her tomorrow. She replied in her usual bubbly manner, telling me she loves me too. Sunday morning rolls around, and I send her a good morning text. She responds, but not in her usual bubbly way. I thought it was odd, but figured she was just hungover or something. I went to work and then called her to let her know I was done and that I'd be home in a few hours. She didn't answer, which I thought was odd, but maybe she didn't hear her phone, was in the bath, or simply busy with something. I stopped a few miles down the road to get gas and tried calling again. Still, there was no answer. This wasn't normal for her because we talked all day, every day. We were best friends. I started to get a bad feeling in my gut. I knew something happened, but I hoped for the best. I finally made it home after the longest drive of my life, and she wasn't there. I called her again, but still, no answer. I called Dex, assuming she was still at his house, but he told me she left after the fight last night and he hasn't seen her since. About an hour later, she came home with groceries, walking right past me, not saying a word. I tried to say hello, asking her about why she hasn't responded to me all day, but she continued putting the groceries away. A few minutes go by and I'm fuming. Then all I hear from the laundry room is, "I cheated on you." I asked, "With who?" Already knowing the answer. She confirmed my suspicion and came to the living room. She got on her knees and started bawling her eyes out in my lap. This went on for a while and I had no words. Eventually, I told her that I needed to think and asked her to leave. Fast forward 6 months and we eventually break up. I thought I could move past it and she really seemed genuinely sorry, but I just couldn't trust her anymore.
Well, at least OP's partner let him know right away that she cheated on him. But still, it's a shame that an old family friend would do that to him. Nonetheless, it's not at all surprising to me. A big part of cheating is all about opportunity, so leaving her alone with an older guy, who was probably quite charming, wasn't a good idea, especially if alcohol was involved. Luckily, OP didn't get married and commit himself to his ex, so he dodged a very expensive bullet there. Anyway, let's pop into the comments for a minute.
No Carpenter says, "I would definitely drop Dex as a friend. You cannot trust him. He knew she was in a relationship with you. I would warn your friends as well that they can't trust Dex around their wives, girlfriends, mothers, or sisters." Fearless Telephone says, "Don't leave a piece of meat alone in front of a hungry dog if you don't want the dog to eat. Don't blame the dog for being a dog. If you know men and you know women, there are some situations you simply cannot allow to happen. Yeah, you can trust people, but there's a point in which you become so innocent that you're practically asking to get screwed over. This happens in relationships and business. People will take advantage if you don't protect yourself."
Fearless Telephone was quite blunt, but I'd be lying if I said they didn't have a valid point. It's a shame that some people are willing to throw away what they're building for a short-term gain, especially when their future was looking bright.
I'm 25 and my fiancé is 27. I love him deeply, and he's always assured me that I'll always be the only woman in his life. Our relationship was beautiful as we've always been best friends, and he's my rock, but that's all changed. Recently, he told me that he had a kink that involved me watching him be intimate with another woman. I made it clear that I wasn't interested and that I wanted to stay monogamous, and I wouldn't accept him being with another woman. It's cheating. I've been cheated on in the past, so it made me a little emotional to tell him this. He said that me having boundaries made him uncomfortable, and that I'm always creating issues and starting arguments while he tries his best to make our relationship perfect. We argued a lot about this on various occasions, and I eventually forced myself to agree to him being with another woman. It made me sad, but he was happy, and I was scared to argue with him again.
That was a mistake.
Fast forward to a few months ago, and he tells me that he wants a threesome. I hesitated, but eventually I said yes, against my will. In the end, we had a threesome with a girl, and it was the most unpleasant and uncomfortable experience of my life. Later on, we argued about it, and he told me that I was selfish for not considering his feelings, and that I should have told him that I wasn't okay with it sooner. The thing is, when I did tell him, he still got angry. I feel disgusting, and I'm disgusted whenever he brings up the subject of him being attracted to other women. He says that he wants to be with me, and that he wants to marry me because he loves me. Having sex with other women is just for fun. He doesn't want to date them. I don't know what to do or how to feel. Is it my fault? Is this a normal kink for men to have? Did I overreact? Is he cheating?
First things first, never agree to something you're not comfortable with. This relationship sounds extremely toxic, and I can only imagine how much worse things will get for OP in the future if she stays with this man. Since she's still young, she'd be much better off getting with someone who wants the same things as her. There's really no need for her to lock herself into a relationship that brings about so much pain. People who don't want to open up their relationship should never agree to this sort of thing. It never ends well for them. Let's pop into the comments to see what other Redditors have to say.
One commenter says, "The question is not, is he cheating? The question is, does he actually love me? And the answer to that is no, not really. If he did, he wouldn't be forcing or manipulating you into situations you don't want to be in. I read nothing in this story that suggests he's taking your feelings into account when he chooses to act how he does." Bite Me says, "Get your dignity and self-respect back and tell him to go. He's actively manipulating you in the situation to get what he wants. He'll always cheat on you, he won't stop. I would also tell him that you want to be with another man just to have sex. I bet he'll get mad and tell you no. In my opinion, he's using his kink to manipulate and control you in the situation just to cheat. Tell him that because of this, you no longer want to be with him and call off the engagement. Stand up for yourself and tell him to go. Don't get pregnant by him and don't marry him, he'll only get worse. He's not worth it and he's not husband material. He's a cheater who'll never stop."
Marrying or having children with a man like this would be the biggest L. I hope OP can find the strength to get herself out of this situation before things get really messy.
I caught my wife of 4 years cheating on me. She's 28, I'm 38, and we have a toddler. I found out she was cheating on me when I saw a sexual text message on her iPhone from a random guy. She denied cheating at first, but then I went through her iPad and found out she made an adult movie with a different guy. Not the one who sent her the sexual message I saw. As I kept looking, I saw that she was exchanging naughty messages with multiple other men. Eventually, I seen that she slept with the random guy she was messaging on her iPhone. My wife didn't know that I had her iPad, and she swore on our son's life that she never cheated during our marriage. Days later, I gave her back the iPad and told her that I watched the tapes she made with these guys, letting her know that I knew everything. Jokingly, I said that the tapes were hot, and her answer was, "Yeah, it was hot. I should do OnlyFans."
The disrespect.
My wife had no remorse for what she did, and completely blames me for her cheating. I found more pictures on her iPad, and these pictures were from much earlier on in our marriage, and were highly suspicious. She had sexy selfies, showing off a scratch mark on her butt, and this picture was taken right before we conceived our son. I got a paternity test and confirmed that my son is indeed mine, and I've also filed for divorce. She's completely put the blame on me, saying that I pushed her away, neglected her, and even claimed that I cheated on her last year, which is an insane lie. We've had our share of arguments in the past year, and some of them have been pretty nasty. Things have been pretty intense with a new baby and moving across the country. I work very hard, have a prestigious career, and make excellent money that allows me to provide a great life for my wife, who got to stay at home with her son and live in luxury. I feel horrible about my marriage failing, and I keep ruminating on what drove her away.
Thankfully, OP was able to make a quick exit from this marriage. It's just unfortunate that he had a child with her. Hopefully, he'll be able to move on to something better and give his kid the life he deserves. I don't understand why OP's wife signed up for this marriage if she was that unhappy, but perhaps the lifestyle her husband was able to provide was too enticing to give up. Anyway, let's dive into the comments.
United Spirit says, "Did you have a hand in the downfall of your marriage? Perhaps. Sounds like she was cheating on you prior to marriage and probably during her pregnancy. Glad to hear that the child is yours, and I wish you luck in your pending divorce. I hope you're in a state that takes infidelity into consideration." Ocean Gal says, "If people feel like they've been driven away, they communicate the issue and their feelings. They don't sleep around. One of the biggest problems with cheating is when the person being cheated on questions whether they did something wrong. You did nothing wrong, end of story. You'll get through this. Just focus on there being good people in the world. Trust me, you can meet someone decent."
I long for the day in which people just admit that they're not happy in a relationship and break up with their partner if it's that bad. Even though there'll be some hurt feelings, it'll avoid this kind of heartache. Cheating on someone who believes you're being faithful is selfish and dangerous for the unsuspecting partner. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Coffee and Popcorn, and I can't wait to see you on the next one.